Okay, there's emerging franchisors listening to this. There's potential franchisees listening.
Yeah.
How are people coming out of the woodwork to buying an Ivybrook? What's going on?
Yeah, what's interesting, the bigger we get, the more traction we get. And I talk to my franchise, sales organization all the time and on a routine basis. And what's happening, the more schools we open and people drive past and see the name Ivybrook, it's just organic. We get a lot more every time I open a location in a new city, in a new state, the organic leads of, oh, Ivybrook, that sounds interesting. Let me inquire more. So that's been the biggest catalyst to get us the most attention. It's just growth. It's just organic. I haven't spent to this date. Now we're going to next month, but to this date, we haven't spent any money on advertising for franchising. Zero.
Wow.
I have a $0 budget right now.
What?
And ever had. Now we are changing that and going into advertising for specific areas starting next month.
So for people that aren't familiar with franchising in terms of how us franchisors sell franchises, sometimes we use a outside sales organization. You mentioned the franchise sales organization or an FSO, because sometimes on the podcast they'll hear FSO and they might not know what that means. Have you been using this outside sales organization from the begining?
I do. If I'm allowed to name drop, Brand One has been my FSO
Yeah, sure.
For the last 5 years. And
Okay.
man, I can't tell you how much success is. Kudos to them. I mean, I have an amazing relationship. They do an amazing job for us. They're the ones that help us screen and find the right candidates and put them in the right seat. And I couldn't be where I am today without them. So they have the utmost respect and integrity for helping us get to where we are.
Wow. I've had direct experience with using an FSO. I've had my own salespeople in-house. We moved on to having people out of the office, having outside salespeople. That has worked out well. But you don't generally hear great things about the FSO experience or using that outside sales organization, because some people feel like, oh gosh, they just bring everybody through. They're just trying to make commission. They're literally just trying to push every candidate through, saying they're the perfect guy, perfect girl. You need to sell them. You need to award them a territory. But that's not what your experience has been.
Not the case. Not the case.
That's great.
I will work with Brand One and until infinity and beyond. I mean, they do me right, and they do our company right, and they do our franchise owners right. And they're in it for the long haul and for the company's success. And that's what I want.
Wow. So you're in obviously a very, very hot segment in franchising in children's preschool, but what makes you, you guys are in the top 10, right? In the country?
We are. We just cracked the top 10 in the country, and that is looked at by number of students enrolled. So we have over 4,000 students enrolled across the country in 30 locations. And that's just going to get a lot bigger as we got 52 more to grow into.
Okay. So everybody's going to want to know, what makes Ivybrook unique? Why are you guys different?
Yeah, we're a niche, Frank. I mean, we are a half day preschool. The what makes us different is that the first two words I said, half day.
Okay.
So a lot of the audience and a lot of people around the country, they understand the term preschool. If not, they understand the name daycare. So now what's the difference here, right? The word preschool is kind of watered down. The half day is what the differentiator is. We cater really to parents that elect to stay home with their child and raise their child, or since over the last couple of years, we all know the work from home population has increased, which only helps me, has not hindered me. It helps my segment. So we are catering to families that want to send their child to preschool half the day. We have a morning or an afternoon session. You cannot attend both. And then let's say they come in the morning and then they come home, the parent picks them up, they come home for lunch, and they still have that ability to either nap in the afternoon, or they socialize, or spend quality time with mom or dad before they go off to kindergarten, first grade. So we provide that ability for parents to have both. They want their child to have the education and the enrichment and a good head start in life, but also think about the socialization, right? The socialization of how to interact with peers and how to sit at a table, and how to go stand in line or going to the water fountain. Those are all little social cues that are kind of that means everything to us, but that's not taught until you get into a schooling environment. So parents are able to accomplish all those things, but then they still have that ability to spend that quality time with them before they rush off to, first grade or kindergarten and they don't see them anymore. So we provide that niche, across the country. It has typically been that niche has been provided by churches and religious-based institutions across the country, which do a fabulous job. It's just not academic. They're singing songs, watching movies, coloring dittos and worksheets, which is great. That's fine. It's true academic learning when you're coming to an Ivybrook. So we've fell on a niche that we just made something better. And I've got young children. I've got an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. I've absolutely been brainwashing them to be an entrepreneur from day one. And I've always taught them, and they know there's two ways that you can be successful by opening a business. In my mind, this is all Drew's personality.
Let's hear it.
Number one is you've got to create something that's brand new. Okay. You've got to come up with something brand new that nobody has done before. Number two, make something better. Those are the two ways that you're going to be able to make a successful brand or a business. So what we did was we did option two. The half-day preschool market was out there. It's been out there for probably a century. We just made it better. And that's what Ivybrook is all about. And that's what the half-day preschool model is.
Wow. I was going to say, it's not what you do. It's right. We hear it's why you do it, because anybody can compete with you and say, oh, all right, so Drew does this half-day preschool. Well, heck, I'll open a preschool tomorrow, make it half-day, and I'm going to see the same success. That's not going to make you successful.
Yeah. 17 years of ironing out all the kinks is it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and lots of zeros, I can tell you, in financials that have gone for what should not be done.
Yeah, isn't
after
that
17 years? I feel pretty good that we are on the right track now.
Isn't that amazing? It's sometimes it's making the mistakes that are key. I always felt like the reason why we were successful is because we made a lot of decisions. Like I made a ton of mistakes, but I made them fast and I learned from them and I didn't make them a second time. But ultimately it's making the willingness to make a lot of decisions is critical.
Yeah. But think of it just you, Frank. I'm going to interview you. Let's turn the tables. Okay. Did you learn more from your successes or more from your failures?
Well, fortunately I had so many failures that I learned from them, and that's what got us to where we were. It was definitely not from the success because I didn't reflect on anything when I succeeded. It was like, oh, that worked, and you just keep moving on.
See, I 1,000% agree with you. I learned so much more from failures because it burns. It hurts me so bad. Whether it was a bad decision, I will make sure that I will never do it again because it still burns in me, right? Whether it's a bad hire, a bad vendor, something else. So, I make decisions quickly, but equally, if they're not the right ones, I will equally correct it quickly too. So I think the failures are more lasting memories and help, because the successes, if you have too many successes back to back to back, you start thinking you're invincible, and then you make a really stupid one eventually.
Exactly. You think, oh, I'm a dynasty now.
I'm the man. I'm never going to fail. Yeah. And then you make a really big implosion.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's happened to all of us. But I agree with you. I think it's learning from those decisions and being able to make another decision. Too many people, they're fearful of either doing the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing again. So it's like, oh, well, this didn't work out, but I got to stick with it because I don't want to make another decision and mess up. And they start getting in their own head, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, that's part of the reason why I think so many franchisors out there don't get to 100 units. We all think that franchising is this, oh my gosh, if it's a franchise, they're a huge brand name, but most franchisors do not have 100 locations. And it's because of things like that, where they can't make another decision, where they don't change on the dime, where they say, this didn't work out, and they don't learn from it.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its hosts do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.